Welcome to another episode of Not For The Weak-Minded. I'm going to be showing you a few new blueprints that I've been working on, that have been inspired by, let me turn around, this channel. So zoom in. And some of the things they were doing. I've not looked at all their research, but it put me on a certain pathway, which now ended up creating this, essentially, along with one other channel, which I will get to now. Just click on it, and this one, Decode Your Reality. Particularly this video here, Vesica Pisces Decoded. Both of these two channels, the research led me to understand how that is incorporated into sacred geometry. And the previous version, before taking, if you took out these lines here, you'd see an 8 and an 8, essentially. You also see a butterfly effect, and you also see in other versions of this flowers, how they're ornate flowers. So this is, we're getting close. So there's just one blueprint to bear in mind, but there are others now that we need to look at. So we need to incorporate this blueprint, particularly with this work, these people's work, this channel, because they've got they're using computers to generate models and stuff, and I'm obviously using paper to generate blueprints. But in reality, it's multiple it's leveled, and there's multiple layers to it, of which I think this one is one, which actually came from sort of watching a bit about the positive and negative dualistic aspect of the earth, and about this bit, some interesting things, and I thought, wow, I wonder if I can incorporate that into my drawings. And so there's another one, and this one has all the symbols in it: the pyramid and the all-seeing eye, the pentagram, the six, the Star of David. It's got all of it. And so I also did this one. An interesting thing about mythology and stuff, and the things that have been passed down through history, is where they originally come from. Now, this is not, me just speculating now, but this one here I've drawn, this could be a table at the center of the earth, and there are 12 knights sat around it. The knights of the round table, the 12 knights. Just suggesting that there may be, dualistic meanings to a lot of the things that we might associate with just a physical person sat around a table, as suggested. And rather, it's a piece of information that relates to sacred geometry. So, let me just flip around. You've all seen this one, and how I try to incorporate the rainbow, the 7 chakras, into the zodiac. And this isn't quite right, in my opinion, but it's just an example, just like all of them are, of how to use sacred geometry to understand reality. Everything is based upon the perfect circle, including the globe earth model. So we need to also now to incorporate this. There's no yellow in there, and there needs to be yellow. And then we got one up here. So each one of these is slightly different, but based upon the same principle. If we carry on going point to point to point on every single point, you end up with this. So this one here, I can't do too close. Again, there's another part of the puzzle. So this is every 10 degrees. That one over there originally started, I'll show you, is just the 30, 60 and 90 degrees. That's every degree. Again, that I think is every 10 degrees. So that is this one on a much larger scale. And these ones, this one was the second one I did. Trying to understand where the events of creation are and how the cycles happen of the sun and moon, and the water and the air. There's just another blueprint, an example of perhaps all these different ones being put together to get the bigger picture. And so the pyramids, without the greater pyramids across the earth, we wouldn't exist, because the stars are connected to them and they bring in energy from above. This is part of understanding. It's complicated, but the ancient past, and there are smaller pyramids across the earth that were created to emulate the bigger pyramids, but to then go against creation and do it their own way. It's similar to what's going on today. They used microwave frequencies to control the population. And I say population, I mean, yeah, there was giants and different human beings and aliens and all sorts of things walking around back then. So this is the last bit. Again, is my blueprint. The Gleason model / Mercator model, but the truth. You know, I've had a lot of problems in terms of confidence and knowing that I know that, you know, it's not a globe, but trying to prove it. So without using other people's work, but doing it myself and being creative. And this is the last drawing. A giant tree at the centre of the earth that has levels, that's been engineered. And then eventually what happened, it got flooded, and then evil reigned again, and they decided to flood the earth using geoengineering. And just like today, the same thing is happening. So this is kind of trying to make you understand history in terms of sacred geometry and 3,600 years, and how through 3,600 years there's one good civilization that lasts 1,000 years and one bad one that lasts 1,000 years. Again, it's just based on ancient literature and speculation using the perfect circle, right? So I have mapped all the sun movements. This is, in all intents and purposes, the Gleason model. And if you do diligent research on the Gleason model, comparatively speaking, with, like, say, flight paths, with the globe Earth model, you'll know that this model's truth. But it's how we incorporate all of these, geological time, space, time, sacred geometry, the Fibonacci sequence, and numerology. There's so much, There's so much evidence that proves that they've lied and that there are other answers. And yet, I guarantee there's still people that will refuse to understand that they have been lied to, So last look at this one. I think this one's beautiful. Just out the light. So that was a shout out to obviously those channels as well. Please share, like and subscribe.